The walls of the Kremlin are starting to crack, and Russia's economy is standing on the edge of a cliff. Interest rates are exploding, racing toward a staggering 23%. Food prices are out of control, and ordinary Russians are reaching a breaking point, not with protests in the streets yet, but in the way they're being forced to live every single day. For the first time in decades, the image of strength is breaking apart, and the rest of the world is beginning to see what's really happening. Russia's economic engine is overheating, and it's dangerously close to blowing apart. This isn't a story about a slow decline or a distant future crisis. This is happening right now, in real time, across every corner of Russian society. Bread prices are up 12%, milk is up 15%, potatoes, a basic staple, are up a shocking 74%. Butter is up 30%. People are stealing butter. Yes, butter. Grocery stores are literally locking food behind glass because desperation has reached that level. People are taking food just to survive. And while families struggle to put meals on the table, the Kremlin is pouring trillions into war. Tanks, rockets, ammunition, weapons, all of it funded by the same citizens who are now being ignored. So the question becomes unavoidable. How long can this war economy keep going before it collapses under its own weight? To understand the crisis unfolding in Russia, you have to look beyond the headlines and into the numbers. Interest rates are set to hit 23% as the central bank scrambles to control inflation. But this isn't normal inflation. This is war-driven inflation. A superheated economy that looks strong on the surface but is cracking beneath every ruble. Inflation has hovered around 9% for an entire year, but for ordinary people, the damage is devastating. Basic foods are becoming unaffordable. Cabbage is up 26%, onions up 33%. Potatoes, again, up 74%. These aren't luxury items. These are survival foods. Stores are reporting spikes in theft, people stealing necessities just to get by. Some supermarkets have locked butter behind glass cases, turning everyday shopping into something that feels like wartime rationing. The central bank's response has been predictable. Raise interest rates. From 13% to 15%, then 16%, then 20%, now 21%, and soon 23%. The goal is to slow inflation. The reality is crushing debt for anyone not employed in the war economy. Mortgages are out of reach. Business loans are unaffordable. Car loans are nearly impossible. Owning a home, once achievable, has become a distant dream. And it doesn't stop with individuals. Corporate bankruptcies are up 20% this year alone. Shopping malls, construction firms, and small businesses are collapsing under the pressure of impossible borrowing costs. Russian railways, the backbone of the country's transport system, is facing an additional $4 billion in interest payments. Expansion plans are being canceled. Infrastructure projects are being scaled back. And this is only the beginning. If the economy can't stabilize, the next wave of bankruptcies could spread through every sector, threatening the basic functioning of the country. Here's the real problem. This inflation isn't driven by market forces. It's driven by war. The government has made military production the top priority. Tanks, rockets, flamethrowers, ammunition, all built at the expense of civilian life. Defense spending now consumes roughly 1/3 of the national budget, a level almost unheard of outside full-scale wartime. No country spends this much on defense except Ukraine, which is fighting for survival. And the cost shows everywhere. Civilian industries, schools, healthcare, manufacturing, furniture production, all are losing workers because defense wages are exploding. Average wages are up over 9% in 2024, but that number hides the truth. If you work in tank or rocket manufacturing, your pay may have increased 5-fold since the war began. Soldiers are offered massive signing bonuses to enter active combat. Families of the dead or wounded receive payouts that together equal about 6% of the national budget. Meanwhile, teachers, bus drivers, and shopkeepers are losing workers and watching payroll costs explode just to stay competitive. Russia now has unemployment at just 2.4%, almost full employment, but only because everything is being absorbed by war-focused sectors. This isn't prosperity, it's an economy on life support. If the war ends, the civilian economy may have no workforce left to sustain it. On paper, Russia looks strong. GDP grew by 4% in 2024. Unemployment is low. But this growth isn't real. It's state-driven and artificial. Money flows almost entirely into military spending. Every ruble put into missiles is a ruble taken away from hospitals, roads, utilities, and public services. At the same time, Western sanctions continue to choke imports. The ruble has hit historic lows. Imported goods are wildly expensive, pushing prices even higher. The war is inflating costs, draining labor, and destabilizing the economy. Russia is running too hot to sustain itself. Experts are warning about a tipping point, not years away, but possibly much sooner. Hyperinflation and economic collapse are no longer unthinkable. Every month, the war continues. Russia moves closer to an economic disaster that could ripple far beyond its borders. The human cost is enormous. Estimates suggest hundreds of thousands of Russian soldiers have been killed, injured, or captured. Some estimates go as high as 750,000. Each loss leaves a hole in the labor force that can't be easily replaced. Industries outside the war sector are desperate for workers. Wages rise in panic, cash flow collapses, and businesses fail. Inflation climbs higher. Interest rates choke borrowing. Pensioners and the poor suffer the most. Their incomes can't keep up. Housing slips further out of reach. Basic necessities become harder to afford. While the Kremlin pours trillions into war, the population quietly absorbs the pain, but that suffering is becoming impossible to hide. Oil, Russia's financial lifeline, is now another source of stress. Oil prices have fallen, cutting into revenue. GDP growth for 2026 is expected to fall below 1%. That's stagnation combined with high inflation, the worst possible scenario. Prices keep rising. People can't afford them. War spending continues without pause. Russia cannot print its way out forever. When external shocks hit, an economy already distorted and overheated could collapse suddenly. Every lost barrel of oil brings that moment closer. No one expects Russia's economy to implode tomorrow. The country still has resources, the ability to tax, and financial reserves. But the foundations are crumbling. When the war ends or funding dries up, the civilian economy may be left hollowed out, underfunded infrastructure, broken industries, a population facing an unbearable cost of living. The clock is ticking. Inflation, labor shortages, sanctions, and reckless spending are converging into a perfect storm. Economists warn that hyperinflation is not impossible, and the social consequences could be severe. Russia may look strong from the outside, but the cracks are spreading fast. One mistake could trigger a collapse unlike anything the world has seen. The fall of Russia isn't coming someday. It's already underway. Whether the collapse is slow or sudden, the warning signs are everywhere. Sky-high interest rates, runaway inflation, a labor market dominated by war, an economy disconnected from civilian life. Putin's war machine is running on borrowed time, and the people paying the price, teachers, shopkeepers, pensioners, are starting to feel it deeply. The longer this war continues, the more likely it becomes that Russia will face an economic reckoning it cannot escape. The world is watching, and Russians themselves are beginning to realize the truth. Their economy is breaking, and the fallout could be catastrophic. The only question left is not if Russia falls, but how fast and how far it will go. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. World Decoded has many more stories yet to be told, and we hope you will continue to join us as we delve deeper into this world layer by layer. See you in the next video.